If you're thinking of moving to Alexandria, Virginia, you've probably already seen the waterfront photos, the cobblestone streets, and the charming Old Town highlight reel. But I'm not here to sell you a postcard. I'm just a local real estate agent who works this market every single day, and today I'm giving you the real breakdown, the pros and the cons, so that you can decide if Alexandria City is actually the right move for you. Alexandria is an independent city, meaning it's not actually a part of Fairfax County and sits about 7 miles south of downtown Washington, D.C., right along the western bank of the Potomac River. You got roughly about 158 to 159,000 people living here that are all packed into a pretty compact footprint. Within that footprint, you've got distinct neighborhoods like Old Town, Del Rey, Potomac Yards, the West End, Seminary Hill, and Carlisle. And each of these places have a very different feel. And in this video, we're going to break down the top 5 pros and cons of living in these areas in Alexandria in 2026, using real data and what I see every day working with buyers and sellers here. Now let's get into it. Let's start with the obvious one, and that's location. Alexandria is about 7 miles from downtown DC, as I mentioned, which means you're typically looking at a 15 to 20 minute commute, depending on traffic and where you're going. You've got direct access to I-395, and you're also covered on the metro with both the blue and yellow lines. You've got King Street, Eisenhower, Van Dorn, Braddock Road, and Potomac Yards, all giving you solid coverage across the city. Reagan National Airport is about 10 minutes away, which is a huge advantage if you travel, even if only a few times a year. You've also got proximity to major employment hubs like the Pentagon, National Landing, Amazon, and the McLean Reston Tech Corridor. If your life revolves around DC, whether you're federal, contracting, or consulting, Alexandria puts you right near the action without actually having to be inside of DC. And that's a big deal for a lot of people. Now let's talk lifestyle. This is where Alexandria really stands out. Old Town is literally one of the most walkable areas in Northern Virginia and the country. It runs about 2 miles north to south, and you can very easily walk that entire stretch. You've got restaurants, coffee shops, waterfront views, all within walking distance. Founders Park, Ben Brenman Park, and access to the Mount Vernon Trail give you your outdoor space. You've got Huntley Meadows Park, which is about 1,400 acres and one of the largest green spaces in the area. The dining scene also runs deep. You've got breakfast like Call Your Mother Deli, brunch at Mia's Italian Kitchen. Then you have bars like Port City Brewing and Bola's Dockside Grill, along with Barca Wine Bar and Ada's on the River. They also have one of the oldest farmers markets in the country, right in the heart of Old Town every Saturday morning. On the art cultural side, you've got the Torpedo Art Center Factory right on the waterfront. Alexandria is just one of those rare places where you can genuinely leave your car at home on the weekend, and for a lot of people, that's exactly why they move here. From a numbers standpoint, Alexandria is extremely stable. Unemployment sits around 3.3%, which is about 30% lower than the national average. Median household incomes is just over $102,000 compared to roughly $67,000 nationally. And the economic drivers here are exactly what you'd expect, being the federal government, defense, contracting, tech, and professional services. Amazon being right nearby in National Landing is a major long-term factory. You've also got the Virginia Tech Innovation Campus, which adds even more future growth potential and incoming jobs. On top of that, about 64% of the adults here hold a bachelor's degree. This is a highly educated, high-income workforce. And then the reality is that the federal government will continue to be a stabilizing fixture of this market, regardless of what you hear on the news. And that stability carries into the Alexandria housing market and local economy every single day. Now let's talk real estate, because this is where things get very interesting. The average home value in Alexandria sits around $672,000 as of early 2026. According to the Northern Virginia Association of Realtors and George Mason University's 2026 forecast, single-family home prices are expected to increase about 4.2% this year, which is leading all of Northern Virginia. Townhomes are projected around 2.5% and condos around 1.1%. Well-priced homes, especially single-family, can go pending in as little as 7 days. And the sale to list price ratio is sitting right around 98.91%, which tells you that this is still a very competitive seller's market. Bottom line, if you bought here 5 years ago, you're likely sitting on strong equity, and looking forward, Alexandria is expected to lead Northern Virginia in the single family appreciation in 2026. History, culture, community, identity. This is sort of the intangible piece, but it matters. Alexandria was incorporated in 1749, making it one of the oldest cities on the East Coast. It's also closely tied to George Washington, and you see that history throughout the city, from the George Washington Masonic National Memorial to Fort Ward Museum and the Jones Point Lighthouse. Old Town especially has a character that you just don't find in a lot of the DMV. Cobblestone streets, historic architecture, and a very defined sense of place that has been here for hundreds of years. There's also a strong sense of community culture here. Farmers markets, local events, arts, and a lot of civic engagement from the population. You've also got a mix of young professionals and older and long-term residents. Areas like Delray feel like a small town within a city, and Alexandria has something that most suburbs don't, a real identity. You're not just buying a house here, you're plugging into something that's been around for centuries. Now let's talk about what people don't always mention before you make a move, and that's the cons. Con number 1, cost of living is significantly above average. Let's be direct, Alexandria is expensive. The cost of living index sits around 150, which means it's about 50% higher than the national average. Overall, you're looking at roughly 43% higher cost of living compared to the US. Overall, you're looking at roughly 43% higher cost of living compared to other areas of the US. For a single person, the monthly cost comes in around $3,500. For a family of 4, it comes in around $7,800 per month. Housing alone has an index of 249, meaning it's roughly 2.3 to 2.5 times the national average. And this isn't a huge jump year over year, it's steadily been this high. This is not a budget city, so before you fall in love with the lifestyle, you should very much run your numbers. A comfortable lifestyle here typically requires a 6-figure household income. And that's not my opinion, that's just the math. So the barrier to entry is real. The median home values are sitting roughly between $657,000, $673,000, depending on the type of home. And that's about 35% higher than the national median. And projections show a single family home is pushing towards about $719,000 by the end of 2026. Yes, condos and townhomes exist at lower price points, typically in the $400 to $500K range, but that inventory is also somewhat limited. Competition is strong, especially in desirable areas, and multiple offers are common. And for first-time homebuyers, this can be a tough market to break into, especially if you're targeting single-family homes. Even on the rental side, you're looking at $1,700 to $2,000, $3,000 plus for a 1-bedroom. If you're coming from a lower cost of living area, the sticker shock can be very real. You are not getting into Old Town under $500K for a starter home. So just know your numbers before you start touring. Con number 3, traffic. This is just part of life in the DC area. Alexandria sits right at the intersection of 395, 495, Route 1, Duke Street, and King Street. It happens to be one of the most congested regions in the country, but you do have options. If you're commuting to DC during peak hours, especially on 395 northbound, your commute can stretch very quickly, even if you're only a few miles out. But that's also why we have the Metro for, so it does help if you live near a station. If you're more in the West End or further out and relying on your car daily, congestion can become a part of your routine. And with continued development, especially around Potomac Yards, you're going to see ongoing density and construction impacts. The reality is you do have to plan your life around the traffic here. Con number 4. This is something that is becoming a bigger conversation in recent years, as it should be, but about 25% of properties in Alexandria face a severe flood risk over the next 30 years. That's about 4,700 properties. And because of the city's proximity to Potomac River and its lower elevation areas, especially near the waterfront, the flood risk is real. On top of that, about 92% of properties have some level of severe wind risk over the same period. We also have extreme heat days, and days above 104 degrees are projected to increase by about 128% over the next 30 years. If you're buying here, flood insurance is not optional. Always check the flood zone designations before making an offer. And that's not being dramatic, that's just for your protection. Con number 5, finally, space. Alexandria is only about 15.4 square miles, and you've got over 158,000 people living in that space. So yes, it is very dense. Large single-family homes with big yards are limited, especially closer to Old Town. A lot of the housing stock is older, which means updates and renovations are going to be common. And parking can also be a challenge in the very dense neighborhoods. And if your priority is space, big lot, newer construction, multiple car garage, you're probably going to find better options in places like Fairfax County, Loudoun, or Prince William. Alexandria City is a trade-off. You're trading space for location, walkability, and character. For some people, that's perfect. For others, that's a deal breaker. So here's the bottom line in Alexandria in 2026. You've got an incredible location and commuter access. You've got walkability and a strong lifestyle, as well as a strong, stable job market, solid real estate appreciation, and a real sense of culture and identity. On the flip side, you do have to pay for it. The cost of living is high. Home prices are high, traffic is real, flood and climate risks need to be taken seriously, and space is limited. Alexandria is not the right move for everyone, but for the right person, it's one of the best places in the entire DMV to plant a flag. If you're relocating to Northern Virginia and trying to figure out where Alexandria fits compared to places like McLean, Arlington, or Reston, that's exactly what I do. I work this market every single day. Drop your biggest question about Alexandria here in the comments, because I'll check out and read every single one. If you're ready to talk numbers, there's a link in the description to book a 30-minute call with me directly. And if you haven't subscribed yet, this channel is all of Northern Virginia and the DC metro area all the time. I'll see you on the next one.